recommendation hours after President Trump tweeted his dissatisfaction with the Stone recommendation, and you changed that recommendation.
No, the night before, that is Monday night.
I know your story, but I'm asking.
Well, I'm telling my story. That's what I'm here to do. Well, I do. That's why I'm here. Well, I'm here to tell my story. And on the night before, on February 10th,
sir,
on February 10th, I directed.
Reclaiming my time, sir. Reclaiming my time. And I know you don't want to answer, but the facts are clear. Sentencing recommendation made in the morning, tweet in the afternoon, you changed the sentencing recommendation that...
No, tweet was not made in the afternoon. The tweet was made at, I think, 1:30 or 2 in the morning.
Well, the tweet was made before and after. Tweeted about that relentlessly, and you've agreed to that. Now, when you filed your sentencing recommendation asking for a lower sentence...
I didn't ask for a lower sentence.
Well, you said that you were going to recommend a lower sentence. And you
no,
wasn't the sentence that was recommended by the line prosecutors according to the sentencing guideline calculations?
It was within the guidelines, but it was not within Justice Department policy, in my view.
General Barr, you're expecting the American people to believe that you did not do what Trump wanted you to do when you changed that sentencing recommendation and lowered it for Roger Stone. You think the American people don't understand that you were carrying out Trump's deal?
I had not discussed my sentencing recommendation with anyone at the White House or anyone outside the department.
Wanted you to do, and that's what you did.
No. Let me ask you, do you think it's fair? Do you think it is fair for a 67-year-old man to be sent to prison for 7 to 9 years?
It was in accordance with the sentencing.
No, it was not.
You just said that it was, and your line prosecutors will testify that it was also. Now, I'm going to move on from that.
The department...
During your time as Attorney
General
is not the Herbert Walker Bush, you never changed the sentencing recommendation for a friend of Herbert Walker Bush, did you?
No, as I recall.
All right, that's all I'm asking. No. And over the course of your time as Trump...
nothing was never elevated to me.
Over the course of your tenure with Trump, you've changed 2 sentencing recommendations. Not 1, but 2. Correct?
Which were they?
Yeah, Michael Flynn.
I didn't change it.
Well, you indicated that... You changed it because the original Flynn sentencing recommendation was for Flynn to serve 0 to 6 months. But under your authority, the Justice Department supplemented that recommendation with a pleading that stated the Department of Justice's agreement with Flynn's lawyers that probation would be a reasonable sentence, and that the DOJ would not be seeking prison time for Michael Flynn. Isn't that correct?
I don't think that's what it said.
Well, that's what it said, sir. You go back and read it.
I think both pleadings said that...
Reclaiming my time, prior to you becoming...
The gentleman's time has expired.
Madam Chair, you can give a speech or you can ask questions. If you do the latter, you need to let the witness answer the questions. And that's the chair's obligation, chair's responsibility to allow that to happen.
Mr. Buck is recognized for 5 minutes.
Attorney General Barr, thank you for appearing before the committee today. General Barr, there is a disturbing pattern we've seen throughout history with totalitarian systems of government. The leaders first seek to disarm the population, then they encourage goon squads to suppress opposing voices. And finally, once they have disarmed and silenced the opposition, these authoritarian leaders institute policies that root out and crush freedom in every form. Unfortunately, the American left has been infected with this same totalitarian desire to remove firearms and silence opposing views as part of a campaign to achieve its political ends. We've seen this scenario play out in every major Democrat-run city in America. Progressive leaders push to disarm law-abiding Americans to further their influence while watching as crime rates soar. We even saw failed presidential and Senate candidate Beto O'Rourke proudly tell Americans, "Hell yes, we're going to take your AR-15 and your AK-47. Now the American left is actively cheering as its fascist militia Antifa rages in the streets. Antifa is a domestic terrorist organization that hijacks peaceful rallies, organizes armed riots, attacks peaceful protesters, burns buildings, loots stores, and spreads hate. Reports of Antifa-linked attacks began circulating in 2017. These thugs, often armed with sticks and pepper spray and other instruments, showed up to silence college Republican groups at Berkeley. The left was silent. Then in June 2019, Antifa jumped into the national conversation after journalist Andy Ngo was brutally attacked in Portland. No arrests were made. The left again was silent. Almost exactly 1 year ago today, the Wall Street Journal ran an op-ed stating Portland has to do something to deter political violence or the city will get more of it. Of course, the city's feckless leadership has only further encouraged Antifa's violent antics. As a result, we've seen 61 straight nights of violence in Portland. Antifa's fascist totalitarian activities are now oozing into other Democrat-run cities. Last Sunday, Antifa launched a violent assault on a peaceful pro-police demonstration in Denver, Colorado. Conservative leaders in Colorado, including Randy Corcoran, a Denver area lawyer and radio talk show host, organized a family-friendly event in honor of Law Enforcement Appreciation Day. The atmosphere was peaceful, and counter-protesters were given plenty of space to advocate their message. But as the afternoon wore on, a swarm of violent Antifa thugs infiltrated the peaceful Black Lives Matter counter-protesters and began assaulting pro-police Americans. These are 20 and 30-year-old thugs assaulting 50, 60, 70, and even 80-year-old Americans who only wanted to show their support for law enforcement. What's worse, Denver's cowardly liberal leadership ordered police to retreat once they saw members of Antifa entering the fray. A Denver police detective, Nick Rogers, apologized for this terrible decision. Detective Rogers summed it up best in a recent radio interview, quote, "I'm sorry on behalf of the rank and file. That's not us. That's not who we are. It just kills me that we let good people down." He continued, "I found out that a retreat order was given by the incident commander, and we had one lieutenant step up and say, 'We aren't leaving.' This lieutenant said, 'These people are going to get killed if we don't stay.' So he kept his people there. That's the reason this thing didn't get worse." End of quote. These are sad times in America. Free speech and the right to keep and bear arms are both being threatened by violent anarchists, and the best our chairman can do is call Antifa a myth. General Barr, this has to stop. We can't let Antifa continue terrorizing our country. Can you please tell us about the appropriate use of civil and criminal RICO statutes to address violent criminal groups like Antifa?
In the wake of the beginning of these riots, I asked our joint terrorism task forces, the FBI's joint terrorism task forces around the country, to be our principal means of developing evidence and prosecuting violent extremist terrorists who are involved in these activities. And one of the tools, obviously, we would use is RICO, which can be used against an organization. But that doesn't mean that we currently have a RICO case pending.
Okay. I thank the gentleman. And do you have anything you want to say in response to the speeches that have been given by the other side, and then you've been cut off?
Yeah, well, let's, on Lafayette.
The gentleman's time has expired.
Gee,